Joining me now, Jim Bones Mackay, part of the NBC Golf broadcast team, of course, part of the tapestry of the PGA Tour for decades, and he is in a long stretch of road game after road game. Bones, good morning. Appreciate it as always. How you feeling?
I'm hanging in there. Thank you. We've had some really exciting tournaments the last 3 weeks, so it gives you a real jolt of adrenaline. So it's been a lot of fun being out here on the road.
No doubt. I can't imagine you guys probably, none of you sleep on Sunday night, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, doing the show, being part of it, I know it's stimulating, which gets me to, your life. I remember being at a little holiday party when you had just started doing television, and you mentioned to me about your brother being in the entertainment business, your brother Tom, who's a big shot, I believe, with Sony, music, television, films. Did you have like a real curiosity, interest in TV and entertainment when you were a kid?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for mentioning my brother Tom. Actually, he was also involved in a project in the last couple of days that won an Oscar. So we're really proud of him for what he's accomplished there in the music business. But it's a fascinating question. As a kid, I watched every second of every golf tournament that was on over the course of the weekend. So I certainly was fascinated by how it all took place. I thought it was a really interesting line of work for those guys that took place in it, and I think it's just a wonderful way to wrap up what I've done relative to caddying for 30 years and now do this now. It's a new challenge, and I've got so much to learn still at what I do, but I just feel it's a fascinating job at this point in my career.
Something else that I think is fascinating, because I've always been so into, the mechanics of television and people presenting things and how it's, viewed by people who watch. Your job formally, as you said about caddying, I think that one of the things that you were trying to do was instill trust in the decision that the player was going to make. And you had to do that without ambiguity. You had to do it pretty concisely. And guess what? You still have to do it. The difference is you didn't have Tommy Roy in your ear before, and now you do. So maybe that mechanism was something that you already possessed. But when you transitioned, did you reach out to people in television to try to gather a foundation of understanding and guidance and advice on how to do it?
Well, the lucky thing for me was I had the gold standard in the business sitting right next to me in the trailer for a couple of hours before we went on the air, and that was Roger Maltby. Yep. And so I could pick his brain and listen to how, he thought we should go about doing our jobs out there, and I could literally on a daily basis, pick up nuggets of what makes us, successful or not successful at what we do. So incredibly lucky for me to have that kind of resource at work, and I'll always be really grateful to Roger for the help he gave me.
Yeah, one of the things that, with respect, and I'm going to get to Cam Young specifically, is players who handle discomforting environments or situations. And as somebody who's seen every great player, every player that wants to be a great player, could you see tells from players who were displaying discomfort? And I'm not talking about seeing the result of a shot that was poor, and then you could say, well, he didn't handle that well. We all could see that. Could you see tells about players venturing into space that was getting to them?
I think you can to a degree, Gary. I think the biggest tell within the PGA Tour and players getting a little uncomfortable on the golf course is how fast they walk. I've worked for some great players over the course of my career, and certainly on occasion you get out there in a big spot and they take off on you, and you have to kind of reel them back in a little bit. But beyond that, I think it's more an internal compass that they're dealing with relative to how they're feeling on the golf course. But the most physical characteristic, as I mentioned, is them just being really fast in terms of how they motor between shots.
Bones, I remember Rory telling me, because I spent time with him after the 2011 Masters, and he's a swift player. He gets after it. And in that final round, he was paired with Angel Cabrera. and things were going sideways, and he was like, and Angel made me play even faster. He wasn't overtly doing it. So Ludwig Oberg, who really gets, I mean, it's delightful how he just gets on with it, and then he got fast. How can a caddy tap the brakes without the player hitting the dashboard, knowing that the caddy is trying to slow him down, where that alone can be like, what, do I look like I'm not handling this well? Like, how do you handle a player who's gotten fast and then sharing how to slow him down without him going, why, what's wrong?
I think that it's just so much of what's important about what a caddy does. I mean, we can sit here and mention, having the numbers right, having the win right, and things along those lines. But I think having your player's ear is a really important thing. And you look at a genius caddy in terms of what Ted Scott does with Scotty Scheffler. I mean, he's constantly making him laugh out there. He's got something interesting to say, and Scotty, in a sense, hangs around to listen to Ted. So I think that if you got your player's ear and you're talking about the ball game last night, something that you saw on television, you've got to. That's why it's so important that these players have, and the caddies have, such good chemistry, because between shots and keeping the player's attention is a very important component in terms of kind of, in a sense, slowing them down and keeping them in that normal headspace.
Bones, that golf course, the closing stretch, really every hole, but particularly down the stretch, it's such a high leverage environment because of how punitive a foul ball can be. And it doesn't have to be like really a bad foul ball. Does having the experiences you were in the middle of so many times, does that breed a level of comfort that just exists? Because I don't think discomfort just goes into remission forever, even though you've had, worlds of success as a player, somebody like you as a player-caddy combo that you were a part of with several players. Is it something that does get more comfortable, but is never something that just exists with total comfort?
No, I think that there's always going to be a certain level of discomfort, for the player. I mean, we saw that, I think, with Oberg over the weekend. I mean, he looked like it got away from him a little bit in terms of how he felt on the golf course. I just think it's all in how you handle it, and I'm sure there were plenty of times when Tiger got nervous, and the same thing for many other top players. I just think it's some people really welcome it and enjoy that feeling. I've caddied for players. You're driving to the golf course on a Sunday afternoon with a chance to win, and he'll turn to you and say, "I feel nervous," and that's a good thing. Whereas some players don't handle it nearly as well. So I think it's a person-to-person situation. And I think that certainly, as we've seen over the years, some people handle it way better than others.
Butch Harmon, he better be in the Hall of Fame class this year. I remember the story of him telling somebody who was watching an elite player hit balls, and he was looking at a screen. He was looking at TrackMan, and Butch tapped him on the shoulder, and he said, "Hey, dummy, the data's in the air. You see the data. You see it every week." So I preface the question by sharing that because when you see players who are trending, yes, results, strokes gain can help you build a case that they're going to probably a new higher space. What are indicators to you in terms of getting the sense that a player is getting close?
Certainly, as you say, other than the obvious, I think it's the way they carry themselves on the golf course. I mean, their body language, and you certainly see guys out there that get down on themselves, that have a lot to say, between shots. It isn't necessarily the most positive thing you've ever heard. So it's I like to watch what the guy does in terms of how he looks between shots. Does he look hungry? Is he sitting there waiting on his turn to putt? Things along those lines. It's a really interesting question, but you can see people that are carrying a lot of momentum out there, again, in terms of just how they look and how they carry themselves.
Bones, you know I always value the time. I know that the PGA Tour's got a new show tonight. I mean, we should have done, Bones Takes Florida. You've been there for a month. You'll put a bow on it this week. Thank you as always. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks for having me on, Gary. I appreciate it.
You bet. Jim Bones Mackay, part of the NBC golf broadcast team.